Welcome back to the Don't Write That Book podcast, where you can learn how to write your bestseller and own your authorship. Follow along with us as we give you an insider's view of the book industry. Now, here are your hosts, myself, Mike Michalowicz, and AJ Harper.
We may have our juiciest shared story, and there may be re-traumatization for you, Polly, myself, Krista for sure, if she ever hears this one. It's going to be a funny story. And I hope the perpetrator listens in too. We're going to talk about unexpected publishing pitfalls today, AJ. But before we kick it off, I just want to thank you for rolling with the punches and being here. You know, we wanted to do this in person. We just want to make sure we get the video out too. And we are theoretically still a month or two away from having a studio where we can be together and film. But one thing I admire about you is good enough is not good enough. And we did an episode, was that 114? That I just was not mentally there because of all the stuff going on. And you called me and it was with kindness. You said, you know what, we got to redo that episode. I'm not feeling it. Polly was listening in and it wasn't us. And it would have been a shame. It would have been a little stain episode because I just wasn't there. And so I just appreciate you holding us to that standard, doing it with thoughtfulness of how you presented it. And that's a big deal. So thank you.
Well, you know, right back at you. Like, I admire the fact that that's not going to be an issue for you. So some people are sensitive Sallies, right? And
I've never heard that term.
Really?
I love it. No, I haven't.
Some people are just Sallies and they get, offended by it. Sometimes I'm a Sally. I really want to deliver. I really want to do a good job. And sometimes one comment sends me into a spiral. My team knows this. And I think, oh my God, what didn't I do right? But you can't please everybody for sure. But I do know that if I tell you, we probably need to redo that, you'll just be game to do it. So
I'm playing with a little joke sequence when I do a keynote, if we're going to use it, about names. Like, just basically apologize to every Karen in the room. Like, that used to be, Karen was a perfectly acceptable name until it wasn't. And now the worst name to have though is Alexa. Like, you gotta whisper. You gotta say, hey, I'm sorry for all the.
And by the way, no offense to Sallies, I know some nice Sallies. Sally North, great real estate agent up in the Apostle Islands Lakeshore area. I've also had a student named Sally. Love the Sallies. I'm talking about sensitive Sallies. Let's be clear.
You know what I love about real estate agents? It wouldn't work for Sally, but is when they say their full name and their nickname. So it's like Richard Rich, North, real estate agent.
But don't you think Sally North is a good real estate agent?
Sally North is great.
For the North Woods?
Yeah, Sally North is great. I want to buy property from Sally North.
You do. She's great.
Okay.
All right.
So let's start. So we're talking about unexpected publishing pitfalls. But I was going to share a story. You said, oh, no, I got one for you. I was going to talk about Simon Sinek and the inception of his book. And
tell the Simon Sinek inception of his book story at the very end of the podcast.
Great. Okay. I'll share that. The one we were not going to share, I'll share. But we have a mutual contact. Actually, I turned him on to you. And I wonder subconsciously if I was trying to dump him. So his name is Steve. He is was a Guinness Book of World Records record holder for holding his breath underwater. And he does these deep dive, unassisted, phenomenal.
Unassisted is that fell off. Unassisted. He is down there, just him,
no tanks, no nothing. And he'll dive hundreds of meters down. And you have to do all these different things to actually be able to survive that. And he does it for 10 or 15 minutes. Like,
it's crazy. He's in insane shape.
Insane shape. So he's from the Netherlands and came to visit. So I met him. I was in the Netherlands and he came to a speaking engagement. And afterwards, like, hey, I'm Steve. And I wrote a book called Breathe. And we were just chit-chatting. And he goes, where are you? I'm like, New York. He's like, oh, I come out to the United States every so often. I'm like, oh, let's have dinner. And well, dinner turned into a visit. But I want to hear your side of the story because the visit.
Please do go on as to why did you decide to contact me?
So Steve is there and we're having dinner. He's got no place to stay. So I'm like, oh, stay at our house. And the next morning I wake up. So he does these yoga stretches and exercises.
We know.
I think in the nude, like for 4 o'clock, it's for 4 hours in the morning in skivvies at the bare minimum.
Correct.
Excellent. And I remember like looking at my wife. He's like, oh, I can help you breathe deeper. And like yoga wraps himself around her.
In the skivvies?
Now I want that to be the truth. Yes. But I don't know if that was true. But like totally like hitting on my wife in the weirdest way. And it's like, oh, this guy.
Any of this when you called me. Can we just, this is new information.
So my wife is creeped out by him. And I just remember, he's like, I gotta stay long. I'm like, dude, you can't stay here long. It was like, I thought he was gonna stay for a day. And it's like, oh, can I just stay here? And now it's like 3 days, 4 days. I'm like, dude, we got family coming and stuff. I'm like, you can't stay longer. He's like, oh, do you know someone?
Oh my God. Mike, you did not tell me this part.
Listen, you and your wife, I didn't think would be hit on by Steve. Did he hit on you guys?
No.
Oh.
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not really. Also, Steve, you're awesome, and he's gonna listen to this.
He's gonna listen to this. He's got friends all over the planet.
Yeah,
mostly girlfriends. Because he started. I remember on his phone, he's just scrolling. I'm like, amazing, Steve, amazing. What happened with Steve's visit with you?
You said to me that he needed some sort of help. I don't even remember. You did not.
He needs somewhere to stay because I didn't realize he planned on staying in New York for like a month or I don't know what it was. Oh, I said, like, I expected him for a day at my house. It's now day 4. I'm like, dude, we have family coming.
What? You didn't tell me that he would want to stay at my house.
I didn't think you. I didn't know what he just couldn't stay with us any longer. I'm like, oh, I know someone that's in New York.
Oh, now the penny drops for me. What, 12 years later?
Hot potato. Like, how are you even doing business together anymore? You're going to abandon me, right?
No, but I would.
Yes.
What happened was, I thought he wanted to. You made it sound like he wanted to talk to me about his book.
And that's surely the case.
Okay, but I thought he was coming and he was gonna like get a hotel room or something.
And I didn't think he'd ask you for a space.
He gets off the bus,
right,
where I pick him up off the bus and we go have this lovely lunch and I'm talking to him. And it took me like an hour to convince, well, actually I never did convince him. He insisted that what he was going to do is just go down to the Penguin offices, which at the time it was just Penguin, not Penguin Random House.
That's right.
Down, it was like house dinner. Down there. And he said, I'm going to go down there and just go say hello. I was like, to whom?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm just going to go to the office. I said, they're not going to let you in. You walk in the door and there's a massive security desk with at least 5 people behind the security desk, plus the guards. And then you need a code to get past the little, what do you call those? You walk through them. They're
like gate. It's a gate, effectively.
Individual little gates, like in a subway, almost.
Yeah.
Then you still have to, when you get up to the floor, you can't just be wandering around. So if you even made it up there, he said, no, it's fine. I'm just gonna. So who are you gonna ask for? I said.
Yeah.
You go at the desk. Who are you gonna ask for? They're going to turn you away. He did not believe me at all. He did go do it, by the way. He totally went to do it, and he, I think, emailed or called me and told me that I was right. I was like, I said I was right. If I'm right, I'm freaking right. So anyway, we had this lovely lunch. I'm like, this guy's a lot of audacity, okay? Go for it. You have to be if you're going to dive down into the water by yourself. Incidentally, if you're wondering what we're talking about, there was this movie in the 80s called Into the Blue. And that's just about that type of diving, if you're wondering about it. So it's clear to me as we're wrapping up, he thinks he's getting in the car with me.
Oh, you drove him down to the city?
No, I drove him to the coffee shop.
Okay.
We're having coffee. Art Cafe. I think we went to Art Cafe. And we're having a great time, whatever. He's a little out there.
He's out there.
Look at your face, Mike. You really...
I'm stunned.
So I'm like, wait, he thinks he's going to go with me. And then I bring him. The worst part is my wife had like 5 minutes notice. If that. So I bring him to our house. Then he says we're talking about dinner. It's like, okay, now we're doing dinner. It still has not clicked to me that he expects to be here, except that he has brought sorry, I cursed. Block, you got to make a note.
Yeah, no beam it out, yeah.
He's brought all his stuff in that he's carrying, like he's walking like a backpacker, with a little cat.
He carries around that stuffed cat, the toy.
What?
Yeah, he'd only take pictures with. He had a little cat called Boof or something, and he'd always put it on someone's shoulder.
At all, I must have blurred it out, but I
guarantee it was pictured with you.
So we're in the house now. My son is like, "Who's this guy?" Yeah. And now it's clear he's expecting that he's going to stay here. I have no option, at this point. There's not going to be a hotel. Like, what am I supposed to do? So my wife is absolutely out of sorts. Like, this is a strange man in our house. What is going on? And I kept saying, it's a friend of Mike's. Like, it's going to be... But that's not even the worst part. In the morning, you wake up and he is in the living room in his underwear.
Stretching.
Doing yoga.
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to do? We had a tiny house. We had to walk around it. He had trying to give us some sort of... He gave us all this food. Was trying to tell us how we should eat better. My son was like, what the heck? Then I tell the moms, at the playground about this underwater diver who spent the night at my house. And they look at me like, you let a strange man sleep at your house. Like, it did on paper sound like...
It does sound weird, Dad.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it was the strangest, 18 hours of my life.
One night with you.
Well, he was determined to go to PRH. He was determined to go to Penguin.
That was his goal, okay.
Yeah.
Did he ever get into PRH?
No, he walked down there and didn't let them... Of course he didn't let him in. Yeah. He's a backpacker with no name of anybody he wants to go see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, chutzpah, okay?
Chutzpah.
And
nice guy.
He's a lovely person. He's such a lovely... It never occurs to him that it's a problem.
Correct. He is lovely, but he goes to this extreme, and it was a funny journey. And so my wife and I still laugh about the experience with State, and so we'll do the yoga imitations, like him grabbing under her breasts and lifting. What do you do?
I think, now that I remember, I think he was doing something to my wife's neck or head. Oh, she's nodding. She's sitting in my office with me.
You've been steed.
My wife, do not touch her. Like, seriously, she does not want a stranger to touch her at all. She barely wants a friend to touch her. But he was doing this thing with her neck and head, and I thought, she's lucky. He's lucky she didn't deck him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, it was so odd. And then I felt bad after, I didn't want him to feel unwelcome, but then all my friends were like, what do you do?
No, you want to help out a fellow human, and he had all good intentions. Just that was his style. It was total chutzpah. Fast forward, there's a TV show about him I watched about. He's been very successful in his industry, and does have some books out there.
He does, and he's fascinating, and he's a lovely, lovely person. And there was no danger there at all, of course.
No.
Now, the part that all these years later you fess up that you totally sent him to me, hoping that you didn't.
Not you figure out.
You didn't tell me the whole story.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I didn't want him staying in my house anymore, and he said, whatever, he needed to get to New York. I was like, oh, I know someone in New York. So I feel so bad. Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. We've all been steeged. It's in,
We've been Steed.
look him up, actually. He's fascinating. Watch some of his videos. And if you're listening, Stieg, we love your chutzpah. But the reason we're telling this story on this podcast is because we're talking about publishing pitfalls. And so a pitfall here would be, you'd think the pitfall isn't you should have a place to stay when you're coming to meet authors. It's not. The pitfall is don't walk up to Penguin or a Big Five or any publisher and try to get in the door to pitch your book.
Yeah, because I think you kind of get on the X list. I've seen people go in ill-prepared, thinking that you get countless shots at going in front of a publisher, but it doesn't get forgotten. I've seen like horrible proposals, like just atrocious typos, not well formatted, and they submit it and say, well, if they don't get this go around, I'll come back. I'm like, I don't think you'll ever come back. I don't know if publishers just have a mental list or the editors or whatever, but it seems like there's a list, and it seems like sometimes the word spreads too. Is that any truth to that?
It's not like there's a blacklist, in that don't, a blackball list rather, don't talk to these people. But, look, if someone contacts me, one of the things I do is go into my Gmail and search their name to see if they've ever contacted me before.
Okay. Yeah. So if it's a repeat.
So
it's funny.
I'll look and I'll say, oh, that person? I might not remember them at first, and then that's influencing me.
So I have a investment company. It's called Prosper Group, and we invest in businesses that are at-risk businesses that are need help turning around, but are already doing millions in revenue, but just are stuck in some capacity, and we fix these businesses. And we maintain a list because we get so many applications. We maintain a list, and there's some people that are just not a fit, and maybe they have the technical qualifications, but personality-wise, it's not a fit. So we maintain that. And sure enough, there's certain people that apply over and over again, and we're like, oh, there's that person again. Bink, off. They're off. And so I can only assume that we do have a necessity so that we don't try to reinvent the wheel over and over again. I can only assume that the same thing's maintained by publishers. Otherwise, you get stuck in this purgatory with people that are just not a fit, and then they're coming back to you over and over again.
Hey, before we move on, let's talk about who inspired this episode.
Yeah, you tell me.
Yeah, so it's Top 3 Book Workshop alum. She's a longtime listener, Vicky Lantier, and she's also the author of High Agency Human, which comes out on March 26th. And she's featured in The Money Habit, where she talks about radical reduction. So this is yes, The Money Habit is newly out. Yes, we want you to buy it, but it is a coinkydink that we're mentioning Vicky here. I keep a list of recommendations and requests from listeners, and this one made the cut today. So she wanted us to talk about publishing pitfalls, things that maybe authors aren't aware of in advance, things that could happen. So, let's talk about mistakes. Let's talk about things that went wrong.
When we interviewed Vicky, because we did it together, and she was talking about radical reduction, she reduced her living space. She had a home and so forth. And she's going to get a 2-bedroom. So she had one office, one bedroom space. I said, hey, I have a friend, Steve, who's looking for a space. She reduced it to 1 room. She has a 1-bedroom apartment. I really can't push him off on anybody. So let's talk about the different categories. One of the categories you put in here is covers and metadata.
Yeah.
Why would you put those two together?
Well, because a lot of the mishaps have to do with releasing stuff too early, and then it's very hard to correct it once it's out in the wild. People think, oh, let me just get my listing up with this one cover and then I'll change it. Or let me get my listing up with this metadata and then I can change it, meaning page count or something. And then discover it's not that easy to change, or you can't change it consistently across every platform. So there's this belief that it's pretty easy to do that stuff, but it's actually complicated. So I thought, let's put these together. Metadata meaning the information, the details about your book, title, subtitle, author, book summary, ISBN, page count, trim size. All that stuff is metadata.
I mean, what are some of the pitfalls that you've seen or challenges?
Well, I mean, a big one was trying to change the cover. So when we had our publishing house, sometimes a listing would go up before the cover was done. And then
Is that kind of normal, by the way?
yes, but one time we had switched the cover. So the wrong cover went up. It had been infiltrated through all the different online retailers. And then we had to change it. And then it didn't change across all platforms. So we had a very upset author who it was bad. It wasn't just like a slight variation on the cover. It was the wrong cover. It was not a good look. So meanwhile, a bunch of retailers have one cover, a bunch of retailers have a very bad, not good cover up. And the author was pretty upset. And even though we had changed it in the system, what people don't understand is that whether you're using Ingram because you're self-publishing or with a hybrid, or you have trade distribution, it's actually a little easier for trade to manage it, but actually not that different. They're not, when they push that metadata out, it's not like there's one system, you push a button, everybody gets the same info and processes it in the same way. They get the same info, but they don't process it in the same way. That's the difference. So not all the platforms, that's why Ingram will say it might take 6 weeks for it to show up on everywhere. So it might show up in 2 days on Barnes & Noble, but then it's 4 weeks for it to show up on another site. And that's because they're not using the same systems. So as it infiltrates, some of it is never going to update. And there was a point where I was trying to locate someone in a help desk for retailers in Europe, Australia, etc., trying desperately to get through to people. I think it was for a book depository at the time, so that I could get this freaking cover changed. And it was a huge drama. All because there was just this, understanding that maybe we could change the cover once it was up. No, you can't. Don't do that.
We had a similar problem with Get Different. So Get Different was originally labeled Different is Better. That was the title. And I can't remember what stage it was at, but the cover design was done and the cover was up for pre-order. And I get hold of Sally Hogshead, who does a speech called Different is Better Than Better. And I said, hey, I got my new book coming out. I think this is how it transpired. I said, hey, would you endorse it? And she goes, hey, that title, that impedes on my work. Different is better. I'm like, holy cannoli. I'm like, I don't mean to do that. I don't want to do that. What do you mean? She's like, I've been building and I'm going to write a book called Different is Better. Different is better than better, ultimately. And she's like, that's my pinnacle of my career. And she goes, I don't want you using that title. I'm like, I don't know if I can change it. So I called Penguin. They were amazing. Nikki Papadopoulos helped with this. And we go through a retitling, redesign the book cover. And this is like 11th hour stuff. And I think ultimately it may have hurt the book in many ways. But I think the relationship with Sally today is so much more important anyway than that book. That is fine. But the cover then was circulating as Different is Better in all platforms. And the change took forever. Even when the book launched, it wasn't Get Different on all different sites. So it took a long time. And that was, I think, confusing for the reader. The one thing was the book cover looked the same, it was different words, but it was confusing. So you'd see the metadata, which was the title on, say, Amazon, says Get Different, marking that can't be ignored. And then you see the book, it says Different is Better, marking that can't be ignored. And it was just confusing.
Yeah. So don't, if you aren't locked in on your cover, locked in on your metadata, and certainly title. A lot of people tell me the title of their book and they haven't finished writing it yet. And I'm saying, it's great for you to have it's called a working title. You're not putting that in your bio. You're not doing anything with that except maybe telling people that it might be this title, but you're not going to get it on the internet where people can find it. And now imagine if people are searching using generative AI.
Yeah.
And now you've got multiple titles because you decided to put it in your bio or you decided to sell it or whatever. You don't want to do that. Until it is completely locked in, please don't put that stuff out there.
Totally. Another thing with covers you were talking about in the notes, or you haven't mentioned the notes here, is, and I'm sure you experienced this, people that don't know how to design covers are designing covers. And that can be very costly from my experience. So tell me what your experience is.
Well, so here's the thing. There's this view that, well, okay, it's kind of like with editing. Well, my really good friend is an English teacher and she's amazing, and I'm just going to have her do the copy edit. Yeah. Please don't do that. You need to have a trained person who understands the Chicago Manual of Style, understands nuance, understands your genre, has experience with it. It's not enough that you're a grammar nerd. A grammar nerd is not qualified to be a copy editor. So it's the same with cover designers. I know a good graphic designer is not the same as cover designer. Cover design is its own thing. Aside from the fact that cover designers study the history of cover design and the trends, what's happening with colors and other aspects of design, they are mindful of the fact that your book needs to stand out, but also look like it fits and it's modern. It's both. It can't be such a standout that it looks like it doesn't belong in the next wave of books, right? So this is a very specific type of person that knows how to navigate that. Aside from that, there's so much to do with just the specs. Like, do you know, let's say because if you're hiring a cover designer on your own, you're probably self-publishing. Did you know you need different specs for Ingram Spark than you do from KDP, than you do from your printer? And that might not be something that your graphic designer understands until it's too late, and then you're scrambling to try and get a different something. They might not understand how to handle the spine. They might not understand where the barcode goes. They might not understand how much space you need on the back. How many words is appropriate for the copy. They're just taking what you're giving them and trying to make it work versus advising you, right? Based on what they know about good design for covers. Are they thinking about the fact that you might need an endorsement on the front, or you get a good pull quote from a trade review, so you need to hold space for it? What about if you're going to have a little spot where you're going to be able to eventually put 1 million copies sold or an award that you got? Is there space for this stuff? There's a lot to consider, and they might not understand simple things. I had a client once who had the graphic designer designed the cover and didn't understand enough about ink saturation, so that the color that was chosen, the ink required for that cover then bled, right? But a graphic designer who understands, or a cover designer understands these things. So a lot of the books were ruined and it had to be fixed. So that's a pitfall people don't understand, is you have to use the appropriate person who has experience specifically with books.
When a dust cover, or I guess it's true for any books, are created, they actually get a cut at the very end. So the paper, the dust cover is bigger than the final, and it gets cut so it's perfectly square. And I think there's a term for that. So there's margins that have to be addressed for this cutting part. And I've seen covers that look good electronically, and they get cut and the margins off, and now the author's names are at the very bleeding edge of the cover, and it just looks bad. Because they don't understand the specs. For my books, I worked with Liz Dobrinska, who's just an extraordinary talented designer of covers, a website. It's like she gets all of that stuff. And it's just due to the nature of her background, and she's nailed it for us. But even her, she'd say, you know what, before you finalize it, we're going to do some trial runs of it. And she would get like 3 or 4 printed up. And she says, fit them on a book, make sure it's absolutely perfect. So do those things. I had a situation with Clockwork, and this was communicated, but not received. All covers that we do, I want in a matte finish. Now, this isn't because I have a propensity toward matte. people, particularly nowadays with social media or other platforms, take pictures with your books. When I'm doing a signing after a speaking event and people come up like, hey, can I get a picture of you? Often someone's holding the book. A glossy cover will get the reflection of the camera on it. And so the title of the book could just be blurred, and that's the marketing piece. So Clockwork comes out, like, here's your book, Mike. And I'm like, oh, the cover is matte. I mean, is gloss. And like, sorry. There was a misorder. They knew it should be matte. It was specified matte. We went over the order. It came out glossy. And we can't do the reprints. It's glossy. What they were supposed to do was a metallic text. The word Clockwork was supposed to be metallic, and the gears that we had in there, and everything else matte. And sure enough, for the photographs, you get this blur on it. Now, I have Money Habit here. Money Habit, what they did, it's a matte finish, but gloss on the font. So it's really, you can kind of see if I move it around, you get the reflection off the font, but, oh, is that better? Maybe you can see it now. That's why I walked away from the mic, but you can see the text reflects, but the matte finish on the book doesn't. So that's a
title treatment is gloss and the rest is matte. And so it doesn't have the same effect. Incidentally, that happened again. Do you remember when they were supposed to do the reprint for Clockwork?
Yeah, it went glossy again.
It's still gloss.
It's still gloss. Yeah, it's just pink.
So it's in there is to double, triple check everything.
Correct. With you put a note in here about Surge. The Surge cover is fine. In fact, I like the material they use too. It's very tactile. It almost has like a rubbery feel, even though it's a paper finish. But what was wrong with Surge, I totally messed this up. I knew it. I just knew it going in, is you got to do a search on all of the buying platforms where books are purchased for your proposed title. And Surge, when it comes to Amazon, they don't sell just books. They sell soda called Surge, and they sell Surge protectors. So when you type in Surge, the title, my book was 3 or 4 natural rankings down, and it still is today. Google figured this out very quickly, and there's studies around this. When someone searches for something on Google, that first page gets 99% of the clicks, and it's usually the first 3 listings. If you're a page or 2 deep, you're lost. And the search engine for books is Amazon or bookshop.org or Barnes & Nobles or Powell's. But these are search engines. And you got to test your title. You got to come up first, second, or third, worst case, but you want to come in that first spot. And so that was a big mistake with Surge.
I mean, okay, so but I think the whole cover was a mistake.
You didn't like the title, the cover? Wait, what was wrong with the cover, in your opinion?
The title was right. Because I don't think it's really spoke to what people, the reader.
Yeah.
I also think that there's this, so if you're wondering what Surge looks like, you probably don't know because you didn't buy it. But it's a wave with like that little stick figure man surfing the wave. But what does that mean to me, as a reader? Like, you get it if you read the book, but you shouldn't have to be, the cover should not be an inside joke between you and the reader. The cover should be compelling you to read it.
Yeah, right. Or actually, I would say compelling you to open it. Right, a book's cover is designed to get the person to read the flap when they're 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so I would love someday to try and reboot Surge in a way that to see what if the cover changed. You wouldn't change the title, but I just
that'd be interesting.
I just had an author though who Dr. Sunita Sa, she wrote Defy, The Power of Yes in a World That Demands No. Amazon, this is December 2nd that we're recording this. Amazon just named it one of the best books of the entire year. It's
a student of yours?
Yeah. Yeah, she's an alum. That's Dr. Saad, S-A-H, and her book is Defy, and she's just been killing it. It's a very important book, and it's based on her life's work, her research. She's a professor at Cornell. And at any rate, when they issued the paperback, they wanted to change the subtitle, and they did. So because they felt that it was misleading a little bit and confusing readers. And so they went ahead and changed it, which actually surprised me, to change the subtitle for the paperback. So I'm just saying you might want to consider Mike as a little pet project. Not that you don't have a million things to do, but what if we change the cover on Surge? What would happen?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to consider, but will never happen because
Doesn't happen.
we got fish to fry, and that's
Sometimes you just have to let it go. Another cover thing was, I've told this story before, but it's releasing your cover reveal before you have a pre-order link.
yeah. I've seen that too. And people excited in the moment with no action step always have we write in different, get different, the DAD model, differentiate, attract, direct. And it's that direct, the last stage where we got to tell people what to do that many authors don't do. So you have this pinnacle moment of, here's my cover, and people are like, hey, this is great. How do I get it? And they're like, oh, can't get it yet.
Yeah, I always see authors too talk about their book and then there's no pre-order link at all. Sometimes I sneak into the comment section and drop it in there.
What are some of the publishing pitfalls around stocking up on books?
I think people underestimate how long printer lead times are. If you're doing offset printing, so that's a different type of printing than print on demand, which is what self-published and a lot of hybrid authors do. But if you have trade distribution, or if you yourself are distributing, you might do offset printing, which you're going to do for print runs of about 2,000 or more. Sometimes they're 1,000, but it's better if it's 2,000 and up. It's significantly less money, and it's the actual different type of printing, and it has a long lead time. So it could be 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or even longer, depending on if you have a really, wonderful printer that's booked and busy. So you have to get that stuff prepped and planned in advance. And most people are shocked to discover that they can't get on the line, because it's basically you're getting your quote and giving a deposit for your place in line.
Yeah.
And
so these print shops, I've been to them, these book printers, they're massive facilities and they have to optimize around 24-hour production 7 days a week. Like there's not a minute that line stops because every 2 seconds stop, they're losing money.
Yes. And the books you probably saw that were going around were on deck for months.
I'm sure. So offset printing is where you effectively print in batch.
Large
and then
quantities.
There's large quantities. There's a storage fee. The quality of output between offset and POD, is it still the case that offset is a better production quality? They can go higher end?
Yeah, but I think the average person cannot spot a POD book.
Yeah. Problem with POD is while it sounds like it gets printed the second it's ordered, that's not the case. Well, POD is small batch printing, is my understanding. And short run. And so what they do is they stock up an inventory. And so when I order a book from Barnes & Noble's, that book that's in stock is sent to me, but they only have 10 books sitting there. And then they put an order into POD to replenish it. But it's not a one-for-one trade either. They'll wait for that inventory to hit a threshold. So it goes from 10 to 9 to 8. And once it hits 3, they say, okay, bring it back to 10. And they do an order of 7. But you can run out very quickly. So POD, if you have surge demand, you can actually run out of book. I see that happen pretty regularly. Yeah,
the solution for that is to also have your book available using Amazon KDP. So to do it in both places. Have Ingram Content Group, you do that first so you can do the pre-order component because KDP does not allow that. And then a couple days before or on the day, also make your book available through KDP so that they can replenish it themselves because that's Amazon's own printing facilities.
One of the best things was stock management. In my experience, has been working with a publisher. Penguin, I've never ran out of stock with Penguin, and I've never been overstocked. Never ran out of stock. Well, we'll see. But I anticipate it with Page 2. Page 2 has been communicating so effectively. They said, okay, based upon order demand and so forth, we're nowadays 15 or 17,000 book print run for first release hardcover, which as an author, I've been through so many times. Like, oh, we probably need, with toilet paper entrepreneur, I said, I probably need like 20,000 books. I ordered 20,000. I couldn't sell one. So I was like, oh my God, I was stuck with books. that was devastating, but also probably the greatest thing I could have done, because now I burned the boats. I had to sell these. But then I'm like, I think, most of my books, I should have a 7,000 to 8,000 run. And if I went into the Money Habit with a 7,000 or 8,000 run, because that's what I think these books will sell, I'd be out of inventory on day one. And there's nothing worse than an out of stock notice when people, particularly during launch week, are trying to buy your book. It is crushing. But overstocking, I see it all the time too. Overstocking, you storage fees. You've inventory that maybe it crunches you on cash flow because you had to buy this inventory and you're not selling it. So you need to nail that number. Is there ways that someone could do it when they don't have a publisher? AJ, do you have tips? How to calculate what you should print?
I mean, there's your goals, obviously, and what you're hoping to get done. Beyond that, it's pretty hard to, you could be checking your BSR on Amazon all the time, and then combine that with whatever private bulk pricing or bulk sales you're going to be doing, and come up with your own estimate. That's the best that you can do, because your publisher is looking at all different data from many different sources that you actually don't have access to. So it's kind of hard to do. I've also seen authors sell a lot of books at launch, and then they're self-published, right? And then their marketing drops off. So now Amazon was seeing, oh my gosh, this is going to be a big seller, over-ordered. So now 2 months later, all the books show up at your house. And now you have all these returns, which you ended up having to pay shipping on. So I think a big pitfall is people don't think about, Amazon, if I do a lot of big push and Amazon sees this as a possibility, they expect me to keep pushing, or they're going to get rid of the inventory because they want to make space for something else. So it's that, and it's demoralizing when Amazon books arrive, when your boxes start coming.
I've had it happen once. And I can't remember what book it was. But I got this ship backs. And the part I didn't expect was the books came back damaged. Like dented corners. Like it wasn't, because what happens is they receive the boxes and they put some on, I think it was Barnes & Noble's, puts them on shelves and so forth. And I go, not selling. They pull them back off shelves, put them back in the box. It's not like people are caring for your books. And so these were unsellable. What we did is we moved them into used books, and we shipped them through Amazon as damaged used books. We set up a used bookstore, but still that took us years to delete. I think probably with Toilet Paper Entrepreneur to deplete that part of the inventory.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's tricky. Here's my little rule, but this is mine, so don't bank it. But whatever your pre-order is, just double that, and that's probably a safe bet. So we have 6,000 pre-orders, 12,000 is probably safe. If you have 200 pre-orders, 400 books is probably going to cover you, but I would probably want to do 2,000 if doing offset. So it's not perfect science, but that's the number I use.
What are you going to do then? Let's say something amazing happens. You said you wanted to sell 14,000 books. You said that in the last episode.
Yeah.
At launch, but you just told me you only got a 17,000 run. So then,
well, as of the last thing, so page 2 is monitoring, and every 2 weeks we have a call saying this is what should be. So the last report they said was about.
Yeah, but they're printing the books already. They already printed the books.
And they can print, because we asked them, we said, what if we outpace this? They said, we can add to the,
the quote?
The quote, yeah. But they've already printed, so they can insert or an emergency run. If there's something like that, they can address it very quickly.
That's it. So that's a pitfall, right? So when you're having the conversations with your offset printer, let them know, communicate with them and say, what if I end up needing more books? What's that going to look like? When do you need to know? Have these conversations. Don't wait until it's an emergency to contact them, because you can set something up with them if you need to.
And for us to hit that 14,000, we need to move another 4,000, we estimate, before the book launches, maybe even 5,000. We got to get past the 10,000 threshold of pre-orders. So that's what we're still working on. Actually, my flight to Toronto, I'm heading up to Toronto this evening. All I'm doing is working on pre-orders, forget some more bulk buys, because the individual orders we're anticipating we can maybe get 4,000 during launch week. It's hard to get individual orders. Right now, our individual orders, it's hard. Our individual orders with Amazon right now, I think collectively is 800 orders. That's pre-orders. That was really hard to get to that level. That's pretty good. And that's, what I'm doing is when I'm doing any kind of webinar with anybody, whatever the topic is, I simply ask the host, hey, do you mind if I mention the Money Habit and invite people to order it? And people are like, yeah. And I just go through that process, which I shared over and over again. Hey, I'm selling my book. I think it will serve you. By the way, you're serving me. Would you be willing to do it? Say it in the chat. I want to thank you. And 30% of the audience will move it. So it's some weird events. I'm speaking tomorrow at Relay. Oh, I got to tell you what we did. It just arrived today. So I was at Relay a few months ago. This is a huge, important sponsor. They sponsor Becoming Self-Made. This podcast is taking off. I actually just got a text from the producer, Bethany. She said this new episode is amazing with Amy Porterfield. And so I'm going up there to speak to their team and teach them what entrepreneurs are experiencing and how to cater to entrepreneurs. Well, I was up there 2 months ago for filming, and I noticed like everyone is like half my age. Like everyone's in their 20s. So I'm like, I'm old enough to be their father. So this becomes the joke. I sent up a Darth Vader, but it's my face in Darth Vader's thing. And it says, it says his line, I'm your father. And then it says, technically, I'm not really your father, but I'm old enough to be. I love you, Relay. And so they said that they're already laughing their ass off because it's this goofy picture of Darth Vader. I'll send you a picture of it up there, but they said they have it on display now. I'm doing that to build anticipation too. Like it's a marketing thing. It's goofing around, but when I get up there, like, oh, this is that crazy dude who sent that thing. And then I'm going to invite them to buy the book. All the team members there. So I'll announce the book and say, hey, if you feel compelled to get it, great. If not, totally fine. But always be selling the book. And that will help me get to the stock pitfall. If I don't get to 10,000 before the launch, we're not going to get to 14,000. But if I can, Page 2 is in the position to start pushing more books through.
Wow, exciting. I'm excited to see how that all shakes out. And I think also we should talk about a couple other pitfalls. This I experienced as a publisher, and I think you probably have experienced it as well. When you sell foreign rights, good luck figuring out what the hell. The myth is, oh, I'm great. I'm gonna get a book. I'm gonna get right. Okay, so you sell your rights for a foreign translation. You're selling to another publishing company. That might be the last you ever hear from them.
Likely, yeah.
Tracking them down is hard. You might never see another dime. Trying to get a report. When I had my publishing company, there was a French publisher we had sold multiple rights, multiple books. We had no idea when the books were coming out. Sometimes they were out. We would just someone would tell us, I saw this book in France. The authors are clamoring saying, my book's in France? Like, where's my book? And just getting the copies, getting the report. One time it took 2 years to get a royalty report. So I would call that a pitfall because I think authors have unrealistic expectations about what that's going to be like. And
they don't know the advance is. They're like, oh, why my advance offer $500? Well, for Romania, that's pretty good. Like, so I just got, I had, I think 31 to 32 translations out there. This is different languages, distinct translations. Private First has all of them, but I just got another one in from All In for China. Literally came in yesterday. Here's a couple things that I've experienced. And this is, to me, was shocking. The only countries I've gotten consistent royalty payments from, ironically, is China and Russia. The two most trustworthy countries. So something interesting there. The most important thing to do is to negotiate the advance up front, because that's the one thing you can be guaranteed is the advance payment. But don't have these outlandish expectations. And just like anywhere else, if in Romania you have one publisher interested and you say, sorry, the 500 is not enough, I need 3,000 or whatever your number is, they'll simply say no. And then you have to find another publisher. Make sure you have multiple people bidding on this. So with China, there's multiple publishers and they bid in Russia and all these other countries. Germany. We're in negotiations with Netherlands with 3 publishers right now. And that's where you discuss the advance. The reporting is, my experience too, is horrific. I get very little details, nothing. The other part is good luck enforcing it. Like, you're going to get a law firm to pursue in another country. You cannot afford to do this. So get everything up front. And the things up front are the advance up front, but get copies of the book, because this gives further credibility to your authorship. So when someone's like, oh, I like private, I'm interested in reading private first, we have the ability to display the 31 different versions and all the different languages to show how this is impacting the world. It's great for when you're speaking a keynote, instead of having one book up there, even if you only authored one book, you have 20 versions on the screen. People are like, wow. So it substantiates it. Yeah. And, and also, give some of the rules up front of what you want the book to look like. So tell them, here's the author picture I want to include. One of the things I do is I ask people, please, you have to include in the translation that people can still email me. And so I get emails from another great country, Iran. Like, it's so funny. Like, all the political enemies of the United States are the best countries. I get more emails from Iran, from entrepreneurs out there that have read Profit First. I think it's probably the 3rd or 4th runner-up country. China is number 1. Russia doesn't communicate much anymore. Germany is good. US, of course. Latin America is massive, so Mexico. But Iran, make sure you can engage those readers, because we have built businesses in these different countries, not in Iran yet, but these other countries, because we have communications with readers. That's the biggest gain, at least for me, over the advance, all that stuff.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pitfalls. I mean, I think the biggest pitfall is unrealistic expectations about how long something is going to take. And that's the ultimate pitfall, is thinking things are going to go faster than they will. There will always be hiccups. You will always need more time. There will always be one more review you need to do. There will always be one more mistake. None of this is indicative of anything being wrong. It's just the nature of the beast. And so padding your schedule as much as you can. Sometimes you have to wait for the best people. Sometimes the best people take longer. Sometimes you have a discovery, and so you want to slow it down. So I think our society, which requires us to hit these milestones that we set, is not really in alignment with how publishing works. So to just cool your jets a little bit and leave room so that you don't end up paying for costly mistakes because you had to be done at this certain time.
The greatest thing you can do is listen to every episode of Don't Write This Book, and you will avoid the 99% of the pitfalls that exist. I got a little bonus story, but before we do that, The Money Habit is out now. I really would be grateful if the listener right now gets the book, and I promise you it will transform you financially. And please get with another book called Write a Must Read. That's AJ's book. Those two work in concert for authors, I believe. AJ's got retreats going on. Go to ajharper.com. You've heard about them, but have you gone to ajharper.com and checked them out? I don't know if you have. Do that. Next week, we're talking about why your book needs a promise you can deliver. I think this is going to be one of my favorite subjects we've ever talked about. When I understood this, and it took me years to get this, I finally understood how a book can really transform people. This is probably one of the most important foundational elements of your teachings, AJ. Go to DWTBpodcast.com to get all of our free resources. Email us at hello@DWTBpodcast.com so that we can answer any questions you have and maybe do an episode around it. Here's a quick story. Simon Sinek and I were working together at his loft in New York when he was writing his first book and I was writing Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. His first book ultimately was titled Start With Why. And we are leaving his apartment, and I'll never forget, we were on an avenue and a street, say it was somewhere in the downtown area, but I'm going to say 17th and 3rd or something like that. It wasn't, but he goes, I'm going to go to Penguin right now and make my pitch. It was right before he was making his pitch. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm going in, meeting with Adrian Zachamai. I didn't know who it was. And I'm pitching him directly. And it became folklore. Here's a guy came in and pitched his book and got the deal. And this book exploded. But other authors thought, oh, that's the way. And so they tried to pull the steam move of going in there, and they're barricading people. just because one person did it first doesn't mean everyone else can copy that strategy. It's a pitfall to assume that when it works the first time, it'll work every single time. Be the first. Invent something new. Simon Sinek did it for himself. What can you do for you? All right, I think we're done. Hey, Jay, remember this. All right, do you want to say? I always say it. Do you want to say it?
Yeah, yes, I will say it. Don't write that book. Write the greatest book you can.